Ready? Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Village Council regular meeting November 12, 2024 to order. We don't need to consider any remote since we have a full quorum here. Let's see, adoption of the agenda. Do we have any
Yes.
changes?
Yep, I need to add 2 under consent agenda. Number 4, consider adding scope of services of prior agreement with Acro Services for additional surveying not to exceed an additional $5,900 and authorize manager to execute contract. And number 5, information only, Finance Director's October 24th Treasurer's Report. And we are going to move the public hearing, letter K, to right after G, presentations. So the public hearing will then be H. And that's it.
Austin, are you going to reflect that in the? Okay. All right. Anything else? Any subtractions, anything real? All right. That being said, I'll need a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Against? Motion passes. Next up, we have adoption of the previous minutes. Do we have any questions, concerns, or changes?
Nope.
All right, I'll need a motion to approve the minutes presented.
So moved.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Next up, we have Pledge of Allegiance.
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Public comment period. This is the time we have individuals come up. If you signed up, we'll have Austin check to see if anyone signed up. We'll give you 3 minutes, state your name, address, and we'll give you, Kim will be on the timer. Do we have anyone?
No one has signed up to speak.
No one signed up? Okay. That being said, we'll move right into presentations. First up is presentation of fiscal year 24 audit highlights from auditors SP Douglas and Associates. Oh, are they online? Oh, they're on Zoom.
That's Tristan.
Yeah, this is me. Can you hear me?
Here you are.
All right. Well, I'm here to present the audit for June 30th, 2024 for the Village of Marvin. Appreciate the opportunity to present remotely this evening. This is going to be overall a very positive presentation. The audit went really well. We submitted the audit before the October 31st deadline. We submitted the report to the Local Government Commission on October 21st, 2024. So that's always a good sign. It kind of signals that your finance staff has everything together so you can be audited in a timely manner. So that in of itself is usually a really good sign. We issued an unmodified opinion. Also, it used to be referred to as a clean audit opinion, but that basically means in our professional independent opinion, you can rely on that these statements are free of material misstatements. We had no internal control findings this year, so that was really good. The staff did a great job providing full access to records. We had no disagreements with management. There were no major changes to accounting policies. We did not use other auditors for our opinion. And again, just overall, just a really smooth year. The village has done a good job the last several years using outsourced accountants to help facilitate the audit process, provide the financial statement information as well as drafting the report. So that's been working really well the last, I think, 2 or 3 fiscal years. So everything's running very smoothly. And just to give you context, we do a lot of government audits, and there's a lot of audits out there that are very, very late. So definitely give credit to your staff to pull this off by the October 31st deadline each year. Again, as I mentioned, there were no internal control findings, no budget overage issues. The records were all reconciled accurately. And again, as I mentioned, the outsource arrangement is really good. When we submit the audit each year, we fill out a data input sheet that goes to the local government commission, and they review various metrics. And when we submitted it off this year, there were no financial performance indicators, which is really good. There's a lot of, again, we audit a lot of municipalities, and there's a lot of things that get flagged, which the board has to respond to. But in the case of the Village of Marvin, they're satisfied where your general fund is and all the other metrics that we complete when we do the data input sheet. So that's another good sign. Financial trends, total assets at June 30th, 2024, 21 million. Total liabilities, 1.6 million. And then net position, 19 million. And that net position, that's an increase of 915,000 over the previous fiscal year. Your general fund had a slight decrease this year, but that was budgeted. So you had a decrease of 31,000, but your general fund's still in strong shape. Your governmental funds, if you have a copy of the report on page 14, I just want to point out, I think I did this last presentation when I presented the previous audit, but you have several funds that have unspent, basically unspent grant funds. So your ARPA fund at June 30th, 2024, your unspent ARPA funds were 190,600 or 760. So just under 191,000 for ARPA funds. At June 30th, 2024, your SCIF funds were also unspent of 150,000, as well as the park project funds of 250,000. And if you look at the previous fiscal year, you see a similar thing on the balance sheet, your governmental balance sheet. You'll see cash and then unearned revenue. And as those funds get spent, it'll come out of unearned revenue, and then you'll report the revenue to match the expenditures. So I've been auditing Marvin for, I think this is the 6th year. So, I mean, several years back, you didn't have all these project funds. So, I mean, from a historical standpoint, it's kind of a little bit different. But anyway, I just wanted to point that out. The tax collection percentage was basically 100%. So that's basically the highest I've ever seen. So very, very high tax collection percentage. And that's in line with previous fiscal years. So again, extremely positive. One thing I do want to point out, we had a restatement this year of 3.5 million, where there's capital assets, infrastructure that was brought onto the books. So that was a restatement of an addition to assets, in addition to equity for that. I'm going to share my screen now, and let's look at some graphs. Okay, the first one, and these are the ones we go over every year. This is analysis of fund balance, governmental funds. So we have 10 fiscal years of information. If you were to draw a line from 2015 in the far left to 2024, there's a nice steady increase of fund balance in your governmental funds. So that's definitely what you want to see. For the 2024 year, you added 98,000 to your governmental funds fund balance. And again, of that number, the general fund's in there as well. As I pointed out earlier, general fund had a slight decrease of 31,000. And at June 30th, 2024, the far right column, you're at almost $3.6 million in total fund balance in your governmental funds. The next one, as I mentioned before, your data input sheet submitted to the local government commission. They're always very interested in this particular slide. This is the number of months in reserve general fund as a percentage. So that what this is your unassigned fund balance divided by general fund expenditures. So the higher the percentage, the more you have in reserve. So 100% basically represents you have unassigned fund balance to pay for a full year, full 12 months of general fund expenditures. So in 2024, you're at 70.54% or 8.5 months. According to the local government commission, you're above average in this regard, as well above the minimum of 34%. So the village is doing well in the eyes of the local government commission when it comes to the reserve and the general fund. Next one is cash for the last 10 fiscal years. Again, if you were to draw a line from 2015 to 2024, nice increase. Cash has really basically doubled in the last 10 fiscal years. So June 30th, 2024, the far right column, you're at about $4.2 million. The next one, long-term debt by fiscal year. And you can see 2024, you're at $944,000. Really, the last 3 fiscal years after the significant increase in 2021, you're just paying debt down at about $79,000. That's a 15-year note at 2.3% interest for construction of Village Hall project. See if I can unshare my screen. Okay, I'm back. So again, from an audit standpoint, you know, it was another good year. The outsource arrangement's working well. There was no significant journal entries and no compliance findings, no internal control findings noted. And overall, the financial trends are very positive. So there's nothing from our standpoint to report that's negative. So is there any questions?
You done with the presentation, or were you at question time now, or were you just interrupting to ask?
No, that's questions. I mean, that's the, that's everything I need to
okay.
cover.
Yeah, I just out of curiosity, you say we've been in really good shape in a lot of areas and stuff. So, just out of curiosity, what do most government entities struggle with when you go to do their audits? What are the areas that they struggle with that we seem to be doing okay in?
I think the smartest thing you're doing is the outsourced arrangement. That's working really well. I've seen that be a disaster. I mean, you pick the right firm, and sometimes smaller municipalities will choose a small firm and then charge them $60,000, and then still you're not getting a good product from them, or a good service from them. So I think that's by far the smartest thing that I've seen at the village.
You're talking across the board when we go out to bid on things, you're saying, or?
No, I'm just other municipalities who, you know, outsource and use other accountants to help them out. You guys, that was a good selection of the company, the firm you're working with.
And I got to believe that the majority of the assets are in the roads that we've taken over. And me being more of a simpleton when it comes to this kind of stuff, I look at hard assets. You're looking at Village Hall. We're looking at, but what do the roads make up? I would imagine the majority of that 21 million or 19 million.
Yeah, Christina, can you comment? Do you want to comment on the roads?
I don't have the audit in front of me, but you guys should be able to, do you guys have your audit paperwork? The road should be listed there in the net assets. It should give you the dollar amount, but I would venture to say that that's a good portion. Village Hall is one of our assets. The park is also one as well. So those are our biggest main assets that we have, and then the land that we have over around the Marvin Loop.
Okay.
Aside from that, that's really all the hard assets we have.
Yeah, I'm looking at the capital asset schedule on page 26 of the report. The assets that are not depreciated, which is land and improvements and right-of-way easement, they equal about 3.7 million. And then the rest of the assets that are being depreciated are about 14.5 million.
Okay.
Quick question on the, you had mentioned the fund balance reserve. We're at 70%, right, almost at 71%. Is there a target that you look at or other municipalities look at that's north or south of where we're at, and what would that target be?
Well, again, the minimum is 34%, and the percentage of municipalities of similar size, I think, was at 64%. One more thing that gets kind of complicated on that data input sheet, they have a slightly different calculation. They actually have the village at a higher percentage, but it gets confusing. It's hard to explain, but according to their calculation, you were at 115%. So they have a slightly different calculation, but so they're with that percentage, you're doing very well. That 115% compared to 64%, which would be 64 is average of similar units of size.
Okay.
So I mean, based on that, that's again, these are just kind of ballpark figures. They don't tell you exactly what to do. They just don't want to see. I mean, some municipalities are very, very low, so you want to. It's not really an exact science.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Lee.
We're good. Thank you very much. Good news.
right,
Good
great.
news.
Have a
We
good
like
evening.
hearing
Thank
that.
All right, thanks.
All right.
Good job, Jill.
Yeah, let me get back to where I'm going. Next, did you have something, Wayne? Oh, I thought, okay. All right, next up, we have a presentation on the design and routing for the Marvin Loop Extension BL-0012 from Dewberry Engineering.
So Tristan is online, and I'll let him kind of present to the council. In your packets includes the current proposed design routing for the project. It also includes the presentation that was presented to the public during our open house meeting last Thursday, and also that meeting report with the comments received from the residents that attended that meeting is also included in your packet. So I'll turn it over to Tristan, and Tristan, you just let me know. I've got everything pulled up. You just let me know if you want me to put anything on the screen or if you want to share yours.
Yeah, appreciate that, Hunter. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yep.
Perfect. Well, thank you all. Appreciate your time this evening. As Hunter mentioned, we had the first community meeting last week, and so this is kind of recap that. And I can go ahead, I'll share my screen, and what I'll do is I'll walk you all through the presentation that we gave them, and then we can look at the current plan, the alignment, and some of the renders that we shared with them, and just kind of open it up for questions from y'all. I think at this point, ultimately, what we're looking for y'all from tonight is really just consensus to be able to move forward with the next stage of design, which would take us basically from going from the schematic alignment that's in front of you all tonight to basically working towards construction documents, 40% construction documents, based off the field survey that is in process right now. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. And let's do this real quick. All right, so it looks like everything's up there. So this was basically us introducing the project, which I think most of you are aware of now. So this is the Marvin Loop Trail, roughly a mile trail, starting over just north of Village Hall, going down Marvin School Road, Newtown Road to Marvin Road. So if I flip over here, if it'll let me advance. So we talked about basically in the greater context here, the segment that we're all talking about at the meeting last week and talking about tonight is roughly 1 mile of the total planned 3.73 mile trail, which goes back to the original Greenway Master Plan. And here we were a little precise. It says 0.95 miles. It's roughly 1 mile. And it does vary from 8 to 12 feet. 12 feet is the preferred width that we're shooting for here. There are some locations that, due to site constraints, minimal right-of-way, etc., we are looking at some areas where it's got a neck down to 8 feet, which is kind of the minimum typically recommended for a shared use path such as this. We talked a little bit about the fact that basically this is a NCDOT locally administered project, and that they're basically providing, matching funds to help pay for the design and engineering and ultimately the construction of this trail. And as part of that, we've got multiple people both on staff and as sub-consultants to help make sure that we are stepping through all the due diligence that we need to as part of this trail design. And that includes things like the NEPA documentation, as well as submitting to the State Historic Preservation Office, or SHPO, to make sure that they are on board and they don't see any issues with it. So project limits, what you can see on the screen here kind of outlines what the initial study area was, all in red. Really starting over here at Yellow Jasmine Lane on the east, again, just north of the Village Hall where y'all are sitting right now, tying into the existing sidewalk system there. And then basically moving south towards the intersection with Newtown Road, continuing to stay on the Village Hall side of the road for this thing. And then moving along Newtown Road all the way up to Marvin Road at the roundabout here, tying into the existing path that is out front of Golden Bell Drive, which I think this is Innisbrook, if I remember correctly. And then basically continuing northward until it stops basically even here with the Firethorn development here. So this is kind of the overall study area that we've been looking at. You'll also notice on here, there is some orange shading. This is part of a historic overlay district, and this is being driven partly from the churches in the area, the existing cemeteries. There's a small historic property, couple of historic properties over here on the corner. So that basically means that SHPO may have additional things they want us to consider as we look at this alignment and move through the process. But we have submitted to them already, and they've responded in that they want some more detailed plans, which if y'all are good with the alignment shown tonight, that is what will be resubmitted to them, and we'll work through that here in a few minutes so you can see a little bit more detail. As far as the project members who were there at the meeting last week, it was myself. We had Darren Even, who is our environmental planner. He's our expert on all things NEPA, SHPO, all these processes we have to step through when we're dealing with federal funding. Paige Krantz is our team leader and project engineer, who is kind of heading up the design and production in our office on this. And then Brian LaFranchi was not able to attend, but he's a senior project manager who is also involved with this project, as well as a few other things around the village in this location. We do have some sub-consultant firms on board. We have Kimley Horn, who you may have seen out there. They're doing environmental wetlands delineation and looking for endangered species. They will also be assisting as we get into construction documents with utility coordination. F&R, Froiling and Robertson, is our geotechnical subconsultant. They have already, I believe, been out on site doing hand augers, and they're really out there helping us to identify areas where there might be unsuitable soils that have to be over excavated so that your new shared use path isn't sinking, buckling, any of that. And then we also have Spanish speaking if needed to provide some translation services for any of the upcoming meetings. So with that, we talked about basically what's been done to date. Basically spring, summer, we did a walk out there, started actually walking and pulling GPS data into the tablet, and then looking at that overlaid with basically county available GIS, and started looking at what we think a conceptual alignment could look like. So 5/13/24 is when we conducted the first site walk, and we had some inklings as to what we thought would work at that time, but we ended up, based on what we saw in the field, making some changes. So summer, shortly after that, I want to say it was June, July timeframe, we had developed a revised version of the alignment. We then turned around and we scheduled a couple of different meetings with immediate stakeholders who have property that either the shared use path is likely to be located on or directly adjacent to try to get their input on the conceptual alignment. We heard some of their concerns. We made some adjustments to the alignment from those meetings, and then basically developed a refined conceptual alignment that we'll look at here shortly that was shared with the community last week. So this is kind of an overall plan of what we're looking at. It's a little bit more detailed, but at least it's in color, but basically kind of showing how we're hugging the west side of Marvin School Road, coming down here along the north side of Newtown Road. Again, trying to keep everything to one side of the road to minimize the number of crossings, so we're not putting pedestrians at risk and adding to costs by having to put in a bunch of like hawk signals or rapid rectangular flashing beacons, also called RRFBs, which we'll talk about a little bit more here. But again, trying to keep everyone on the interior of the loop, which is consistent with basically what we were seeing for existing sidewalks along here and where we were tying in. And then ultimately coming up over by Firethorn, and that's where we do have one crossing here where we're talking about putting in the RRFBs, which are those bright yellow signs that have the rectangular yellow flashing lights that users, joggers, walkers, whoever's out here can go up, hit the button, it starts flashing to let cars know, hey, someone's going to be crossing here. And that'll tie into the existing sidewalk at Firethorn. And then we were showing a little bit of a stub out to the north. We did get some comments last week at the meeting where some of the residents were not super excited about that extension, but we can talk about that in a little bit more detail on the other plan sheets. We shared the perspective render here. Basically the idea that we talked about trying to maintain the existing ditch hydraulic system alongside the trail so that we're not adding to cost by having to put in a bunch of expensive curb and gutter, storm drainage structures, a bunch of expensive pipe. Not to mention it's difficult since there isn't much of a system out there today to be able to discharge piped runoff, which could require more easements. So as much as possible, the idea is we're trying to maintain that grass strip in between the shared use path and the road and keep that ditch hydrology working the way it is today. Some of the residents did ask about material choice for the shared use path. You'll notice here in the renders, it reads very much like concrete. And that is because we are anticipating concrete to be essentially the base bid on this. Yes, it is a higher cost initially, but your long-term cost of ownership is likely to be less. You're also likely to have fewer issues with it in terms of Americans with Disabilities Act and making sure it conforms to those kind of tolerances. We can do a alternate as we get into final construction drawings. We can do an alternate to have contractors give us a price to do an asphalt shared use path, just so we can compare the two numbers and see where it lands relative to the village's funds. This is another render over in front of the existing church right off of Newtown Road, kind of showing how we're going to work the trail around the existing signage that they have right out front here. And again, they have much less of a pronounced ditch. It's more of just kind of a shallow depression here. But the intent is, again, to provide paved access across any of the gravel driveways that meets ADA, and also to, again, continue to provide that grass strip not only for hydraulics, but also for pedestrian safety. So we're providing a little bit of a buffer zone so they're not right next to traffic. Now, there are a few places we may have to get close and we may have to add some guardrail and stuff like that, but we'll talk about that in just a second. So we talked about next steps, basically, fall of 2024, this meeting tonight, reviewing with you the presentation that we shared with them, as well as the alignment, going ahead and finishing up the field survey. I think the actual field work has now officially been done and we're just working on drafting. Don't hold me to that, I need to confirm that. But then basically, once we've got that survey drafted, and if y'all are good with us moving forward to next steps would be basically this winter, working through 40% plans, and then we can share those with you at the conclusion again to see if you've got any feedback. But then basically those will be then further developed into, I think we've got 75% for permit review with the agencies. So basically for y'all, that's going to, I think the main one you're going to have to deal with is going to be NCDEQ for erosion control. Stormwater, we will probably have to talk to them, but I think this is going to be considered a low density project, so I don't know that there will have to be a formal review by them, but that is another one where we will be engaging them to look at this And then NCDOT, because it is a NCDOT-funded project, they will be reviewing it as well. And at that time, when we go for those permits, we'll have a second public meeting, and that'll basically be a follow-up to show the public, basically, hey, we heard your concerns, we made some tweaks, we have now progressed it to permit level drawings. This is what the agencies are reviewing currently. Wanted to come back in front of you and share with you kind of where we're at and where this is going. So we ran through this schedule on the screen with them. We talked about the questionnaire we provided, which I believe is also in your packet, and the fact that they can access it through the website. And I believe we talked about it's going to be open another 2 weeks. Oh, here we go, Friday, December 6th. So yes, it's available for them to continue to provide input, and then we will tally those responses and work with Hunter to develop how we want to move forward with the next phase of the plans. So with that, we can jump out of here. And what I'll do is I've got pulled up in Bluebeam, I've got the more detailed version of the alignment. So if y'all want, my thought is I can kind of walk through from one end of the trail to the other, or if y'all have seen it, you've got it in your packets. If you would prefer to just kind of open it up to questions and discussion, I'm happy to do it that way too. What would y'all prefer?
I guess I have a question to start off, but there's a couple of, proposed developments along that route. And, without knowing the timing of when those projects will or will not occur, how do we kind of incorporate that into the construction phase when we get to that? Because we wouldn't want to have kind of these new areas that we just kind of redid and then having major construction going over them. So is there a flexibility being kind of built in of how this would get built out? Or would we just build it and then, or work with the developer on building, how would that piece of it occur?
Tristan, I can take this one. Regarding that, for the one rezoning that's already been approved last year, which was for Marvin Grove, in the development agreement, there were terms specifically put in there regarding the developer constructing their portion of the trail, but it must be constructed to the NCDOT approved plans for this project, meaning that once the construction plans get approved, the developer has the right to construct it, but it has to be to those approved plans and approved routing. The other option is obviously due to timing. If these plans, if they were getting started, they had an option then to pay a fee in lieu of the linear footage of the portion. So we kind of gave it up the flexibility, but it wasn't one of these things where, for planning purposes, where they could just install it and then we had to kind of meet up with it to an extent. It was that if they do install it, it will be per these approved plans. Or not, but per the approved plans when we get to the final plans.
Thank you.
No, staff does not need any formal motion. We just wanted to get council's consensus thumbs up that you guys do not have any concerns with this proposed routing or what's being proposed. We have went through the site walk and the public feedback received. We've tried to make every accommodation possible in these plans, and just like I said, just want to get your guys' thumbs up on it if you guys are okay with it.
When will we see the results of the survey?
So in your packets are the comments and stuff received from the public meeting. The public comment period is opened up till December 6th. So for any residents here tonight or listening online that were unable to attend last Thursday, you please submit any written comments via email, or you can drop them off here at Village Hall, just with that questionnaire format, so we can get that documented. All that is a requirement for our funding, but in short, it wouldn't be until I can potentially get all that together for you guys for the December 10th meeting. It just depends on how much we receive between now and December 6th and how much we can compile.
Are there any requirements to, if we get 3 responses or if we get 300, does that have an impact?
No, it's just to document that we have engaged the public in the process, because again, being that's federally funded, they want to make sure that we have followed typical procedures and done our due diligence as we develop this.
Now, is all or most of this in the DOT right-of-way, or are there portions of it not? Maybe some of the existing portions?
A majority is, there's a few which we've identified those properties, and one being, you know, the neighboring property, but for the most part, it is within the right-of-way. And that's kind of the goal, is to utilize the existing right-of-way and stay within, to what Tristan was saying, stay on top of the ditch line and continue the existing drainage pattern. The only other part, outside of maybe some construction easements for the construction part, where we need a temporary construction easement, I believe there was only maybe 3 or 4 properties that we identified that we would maybe need an easement for.
Yeah, and right now I will say what y'all are looking at in your packets is GIS, so you need to take it with a grain of salt. The survey that's in process, we will have actual located right away to verify this, but yes, wherever possible. To Hunter's point, we're trying to keep it within the right of way. Some of the exceptions being like on the Village Hall property, where there's a very significant ditch over here next to Marvin School Road. We are pulling on the other side to try to limit how much of an impact we have to that ditch. We are probably going to have to extend a head wall there a little bit. But again, this is on y'all's property, so an easement there should not be a concern. And then everywhere else, we're trying to hug as tight to the road as we can. And in some cases, I mentioned too, we're trying to keep that ditch, the existing ditch or grassy buffer. There's a few places where either due to topography, environmental constraints, existing significant trees, we have had to hug closer to the road. So this traffic circle right here, we are looking at basically hugging the traffic circle as we go through. But in an instance like this, we would be basically installing guardrail along here between the traffic circle and shared use path to make sure that pedestrians have a structural barrier to protect them.
Just for clarification purposes, Hunter, do you know off the top of your head when this grant application was written?
If I recall, it was originally written in either fall of 2019 or spring of 2020. We were awarded the funding in fall of 2020. It's a process and a half to get where we're here now, but we were awarded that. Then the first step was once again working at the agreement out with NCDOT, which took some time. Then getting the RFQ submitted, having them approve it. In short, basically every single part of this process had to go through the NCDOT for approval. Fall of 21 we were awarded. But went through NCDOT approval, and Dewberry was selected in May of last year, in 2023, and finally got to the point where all that was finally approved through DOT with rates to where they could get started this year.
Okay. And just for clarification purposes, it was written in 2019. I do remember I was actually a part of that, so just letting the public know that the grant application was actually written in 2019. So I know there's been some questions about why we're proceeding with this, but this process started back in 2019, just so everyone's aware.
Austin, can we put that survey online and have that as a freestanding thing? Because I haven't seen it. Not on our website, on like social media, like Instagram.
We will have to do a social post for that.
Can we?
Add that to our list.
Let's do that.
If we do that, my only question is, how do we verify the people that are taking the survey are actually Village of Marvin residents?
I did not make the survey, so I can't speak on that.
So
It's the same if somebody just wants to go to our website.
Yeah,
they
the
do.
questionnaire, has that, they're supposed to provide that information. Once again, it's for documentation purposes. Obviously, if we receive a lot saying the same thing, we'll just have to filter through those.
is there a place on there where someone can provide their address?
It is.
Yes.
Okay.
Their name.
I don't want, 3,000 people from Gastonia
And
providing input. I just want to make sure that we're doing something in a quality manner then, and I know that you guys are on top of it.
the last thing I'll mention regarding this project is, once again, the current, this is the extension of the existing Marvin Loop. There is still a portion that is unfunded, which would basically complete the loop. So from the end of this project over by Saddle, there at Woodcliff and Firethorn, all the way continuing down Marvin Road to Joe Carr Road to connect to the existing Marvin Loop off of Wheatfield Drive there off of Joe Carr. One of the questions, comments received during the public meeting was regarding that routing. Obviously, we're not there yet. Based off of where we are crossing to tie into the existing portion on Woodcliff and looking at the grade of Marvin Road, I think our kind of intent and vision for the remaining portion would remain on this side of the road all the way to the intersection of Joe Carr and Marvin Road. But once again, I can't say for certain until we basically either council commit funding, we go for grant funding for that final portion, and we do this same process with hiring a consulting engineer to coordinate all that. So just wanted to make that clarification.
I'm curious, and I know this has been on the drawings, this area and stuff, but given it, I think most of it will be 12 feet concrete.
We haven't decided between concrete and asphalt yet.
We have not.
Okay. Well, I know with the ordinance that we have with golf carts, and being Firethorn is right there, I could see, crossing. Is that?
So that was another big thing that came up during the public meeting. From Tristan, and correct me here if I misspeak, but kind of what we envision is that, all that feedback is in there for you guys. Once we get to those final plans and we get ready to let this thing with like the specific items, like i.e. the material, this is stuff that council will have to consider if it's looking at installing bollards at some of the crossings, installing some fencing or railing to prohibit golf carts, all that stuff. Is that fair, accurate, Tristan?
Yeah, absolutely. As we're working through construction documents, so really we can start discussing that at the next phase of design as we get into it. If y'all want to, in addition to bollards, do you want to be thinking about some other sort of barricade to keep people from driving just around the bollard kind of thing? Do you want to do a little bit of fencing, some sort of, monumentation, something of that nature? There's multiple ways we can handle this.
Yeah, I think it's also, the question came up, and I think it's important to note too, that we already have ordinances in the village of Marvin specific to parks and greenways that we do not allow any motorized vehicles on them.
Mm-hmm.
Except for maintenance staff.
Yeah, other than maintenance.
Yeah, that's correct. And so, once again, to summarize, that'll be something that council will have to discuss and decide, because that cost, with this being funded through DOT, we do have a set amount that was funded. Any overage we will be on the hook for. We'd have to potentially go back to CRTPO for potentially shortfall funding, which we would still split 60-40 if awarded, but all of that kind of goes into the next step of this process and kind of finalizing those details. So, Tristan, do you have anything to add?
No, I think there was very good discussion at the community meeting. Lots of good questions, things, ranging from, what material is the trail? Is there places people can park to use the trail? And we talked a little bit about, being able to possibly park at Village Hall or maybe some of the churches nearby. The discussion about golf carts on the trail came up and was discussed. And multiple ways we can handle that, whether it's through structural measures or whether it's through signage and, what do I want to say, operational means. But yeah, the golf cart was definitely something that was discussed. And then, there was some discussion about how we go about developing plans and why we don't do, final plans basically to submit for the grant. So there was just a little bit of talking through the process. There was one property owner who was against the project because it's not for everyone. I think he was really the only one voicing that opinion. But yeah, I think that basically summarizes it. And you've got the feedback too in your packets right there for what was received from that night.
All right, good. Anybody got any other questions?
So overall, council's good with
Yeah.
this current routing and for basically authorizing us to move forward with next step?
Yeah, you want
think
to
so.
vote? Do you
All
want to
right.
vote on it?
Sounds good?
We don't need to vote on it, though,
No.
right?
We did
Okay.
confirm, we don't need a formal, I just wanted to,
No, I think it looks good, and I've talked to a lot of people who are really excited about it, so I think it's great.
all right.
It's great to hear.
Thanks, Tristan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tristan.
Appreciate it.
Thank you all. Appreciate your time tonight.
You too. All right, next up, we have the next public hearing, is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. Next public hearing we have is for CZ-2024-1 to rezone the 2.005 acres located at 9904 Newtown Road from single-family residential 1, SFR-1 to the Marvin Heritage District, commercial only.
Do you want me to give a little background and then let them open it up? How do we want to do that?
You can give a brief background, and we do need to, open it up. Then I have a motion. I don't need a motion to open up, but we do need to open up the public hearing so we can properly recess it.
Okay.
If that's the wish of council.
So need a motion to open the? Okay, not yet, okay.
So in short, council called for this public hearing tonight for the rezone application submitted by Zepsa Capital to rezone the property located at, is it 9908 Newtown Road from SFR 9904, from single-family residential to Marvin Heritage District commercial only. The applicant, after council called for that public hearing, in between the work session and this meeting, reached out and requested that the council basically continue the public hearing till December, to the December 10th meeting, I think, December 10th, just to, as they finalize some application materials regarding, elevations and stuff based off of feedback from planning board council in previous meetings, just so everything is finalized or is in final form to be considered. Other than that, the applicant is here if they want to say anything, or if you guys have any specific questions.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Suzanne Todd here on behalf of the applicant. We are simply requesting the deferral one to do it formally. We appreciate your indulging us to allow us to defer the public meeting until your next meeting, which is scheduled for December 10th. It's a Tuesday at 6 p.m. We just want to finalize some of our deliverables part of the rezoning. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
All right, so you want us to open it up? And then we'll.
It really
recess
is open. We're doing the public hearing now. People are speaking, and,
Then we'll just recess it?
yeah, you just need to recess it. and,
There should be a motion in your packet that basically says motion to continue.
There is, but do we not need to open it, or is it not
Don't we
open?
need to open it to recess it?
The public hearing was open once we began.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
sorry.
and we confused y'all because there used to be
Really
the
do.
quasi judicial where we had to be
Every
more
time we
formal.
go through
And
this.
those, we opened those
Okay,
up.
so this one okay.
But
all
this
right.
is legislative, so
Got it.
we have the public hearing on the agenda, and once we go there,
It's
we're
open.
in it. But if we do formally close the public hearing, or formally delay it to a time, place,
But you will need a motion to recess it.
So we're gonna.
absolutely.
So we're going to continue it, basically.
Yep.
Okay,
And-
does anybody have any questions for Hunter before we continue it? I think we should just do it then.
Yeah, and all I want to say is for anybody here tonight or online, this will be continued to the December 10th meeting, and it will be open to the public, obviously, to sign up, provide comment, feedback, or, comments regarding the proposed rezoning. So for anybody that's, like I said, here tonight, I just want to clarify that.
Okay, all right, so I'm going to make a motion to continue the public hearing. Is this, okay, till December 10th at 6 p.m. at Village Hall for discussion and consideration of a development agreement and conditional zoning map amendment CZ-2024-1 to rezone the approximately 2.005 acre property located at 9904 Newtown Road, Marvin, North Carolina, 28173, parcel number 06-2250009B, from single-family residential SFR1 to Marvin Heritage District Commercial Only HD-CO and amend HD-CO zoning conditions for the approximately 1.54 acre property located at 9908 Newtown Road, Marvin, North Carolina 28173, parcel number 06-2250009A, submitted by Zepsa Capital LLC.
Further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion passes. Thank you. Now we go into closed session, is that right?
Yep.
All right.
I'm going to make a motion to recess into closed session pursuant to NCGS 143-31811A3 to consult with the attorney retained by the public body to preserve the attorney-client privilege.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We're closed. We will return shortly.
We don't need our thingy, do
What do we need?
we? Ourselves?
Water, pen, paper.
Water, glasses, phone. You can steal my iPad. But you're not taking my Dior.
wish I could retire too. We all have big dreams.
When you're eligible to retire, Ed will be here.
I already signed up for AARP, so that's something. You know, there's no age limit. You can sign up whenever.
Really?
I get little discounts here and there.
I get angry when I see them in my mailbox, I just start. I'm like, too soon, I'm nowhere near there.
Westport, Ontario. We're sitting on his deck looking at the lake. He looks at me and says, "You know, Edward, yesterday I was your age." Yeah. He goes, "Don't screw around, it's gonna go on just like that." He was right too. It really does feel like I can't believe I've been with this agency for as long as I have. So what did you first start? 2003. You're probably like the same age.
split it in half, I have from, 74 over one day, and you hope somebody didn't call you like in rush hour traffic over from the other side from the day before, you left a note on their door. But yeah, that was, I worked one side one day, the other side the next day, so you couldn't zigzag back and forth across, it was just like too much traffic. I can't even imagine what it's like now. Years ago, I think it was like, maybe in the late 80s or early 90s, they hired, when the boom first started in Charlotte, they hired a firm out of California from Los Angeles to come out here and do the road project. Because we said, how can we keep up with the traffic? And the guy says, first thing you gotta do is 74, it's gotta be 4 lanes on each side, and you gotta have freeways up over the top. And they did the whole study, and they were like, we're not paying for that, no. So he charged them like, I don't know how much money back then, a lot of money to come up with this study, is all what they needed to do. And
Have you ever been to Houston? I just don't remember Houston like that. It literally, you know how big Houston was. But they'd have the off ramps and then, like I said, the underpasses and.
it's close reefs.
Yeah, yeah, it was like that.
But that's, yeah, I mean, California
still at work. I said, all right, I'll get it on the way. He goes, where are you? I go, I'm in Miami. He goes, then he got home and said, you're gonna die. I said, you drove the whole way. Drove the whole way straight and then sat out and drank a 12-pack of beer with my buddy. He said, man, that is nuts. Wow, that's a long road. Some, girl I worked with at the restaurant I was working at, she was the passenger, and she was like, I'm just gonna sleep because you're scaring me. I can drop you off in Greyhound, because this train's gonna roll. Yep. And there were people going by me, and I was going like 95, and there were people. Best time I had down there, my buddy used to live in, he lives in Raleigh now, but he lived in Miami. Best time I ever had was the year I had my motorcycle shipped down and we went to Daytona. The bike week, that was a good time. That was fun.
And where's your daughter go to school?
She's homeschooled right now.
Oh, okay. You never live here, right?
Huh?
Don't you live around here?
No, I live in Charlotte.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. Huh?
Where in Charlotte?
Over by Old Providence Elementary.
Oh, okay. That's not far.
No, it's like 5 miles from the line.
That's not bad.
No, it takes me 15 minutes to work in the morning.
For Charlotte, that's nothing. That is nothing.
Because, well, Weddington is going, hired 2 more cars, they're gonna go 24/7.
When do you get that? It's 5 to get 24/7.
I think we got 6.
Do you get 6? But do they have a supervisor now?
Let me think about this. I think we got 5.
They got 5. With the relief factor, I mean, we have to calculate, I mean, 5 should do 24/7, because you have to have that relief, you know, guy. So you think about JD, CV,
Right.
but there's one, you know, gonna be there, so you have to go in. That's good for you.
I think it's because of the break-ins that they have up there.
I wonder if that, it's about the same time all that happened.
So I've been preaching all night when I have my community watch meetings with meetings of the community. You have a fire around your house. Don't just let it sit in the drawer or in the closet, make sure you know how to use that thing. Because that's all American game, we've been all done.
What do you think about it? I mean, because it's still zone 4 over here, you know, they go all the way down to King Creek. So if you're not here, they're on the call down there. There's no difference, you know, when you get back up here, unless the electric car, you know, comes.
Usually Weddington will respond out here because it's so close.
Yeah.
But for me, sometimes in Weddington, then you run over to South Potter Road. I said, hey, can you catch that call? I said, yeah, in about 30 minutes. I said,
So Brandon is still the only one in Wesley Chapel?
I think they just hired a second one there.
Oh, they did. They did.
Finally, yeah. I think Brandon's working my rotation right now, because he's been on, I don't know when the new guy starts, but he's been working pretty much AD rotation, so.
So they'll have a CD.
Yeah.
He's been over there for a long time. I think he's been there. He was over there when I started, when I was with HSI, that was 2013 when I retired. He's been on, because we lived over there.
Right.
So he, when was that? 11, 12?
He's been there probably,
12 years.
he's been there longer, I've been here.
He's been the only one too.
He works more. Well, I've been working a lot on lately too, I think I had like 7 so far this month that I work. And Brandon, he's, Wesley Chapel, it's like non-stop. I bet he works 2 or 3 a day.
So we live, you know where we live in the house.
Yeah.
One reason we sold it, I couldn't get out the drive. You know, there's so much traffic up there. You know, you couldn't just move around, especially if it's wet. It's like, you know, let's see. I think it's very good. It's changed.
Yes. CNC man, his head's over here in his box, he's asking for his dad, just, oh my God, I'll be right there, but it was the fentanyl patch he put on. He was out there. But that's when they first started giving those out. They weren't very good, they weren't exact science.
No, it's okay, you can have it.
But her husband, he was supposed to have, like I broke my back years ago, and I've got 3 vertebrae that are going on bone. So if the nerve gets pinched, it's like I'm down, I can't even move. So I was having these radio frequency treatments to sever the nerves. And he was supposed to have that done back when they first started doing it. And they kept putting it off, putting it off, putting it off. And he was in extreme pain, so she said, let's go down and spend time with the kids when you come back and get that procedure done. And he was in so much pain, he walked up to the beach one morning, sat on the dunes. That's the Derringer. She said, there's just a little tiny hole, there was one blood. There was blood inside his head, that's for sure. Well, that's the thing that's bad about, like, my sister-in-law, she's a cardiologist, and she had to go through the whole process of becoming a doctor and all that. And she said these people that are in chronic pain, that need the painkillers, can't get them. Because of the laws, but, I mean. Did your back hurt after you had the operation? Well, the frequencies work, and I go to chiropractor now. Every once in a while, I get a twinge in it that hurts really bad, but it's been good. Yeah, the dad was helping my first wife was helping her son push his Jeep underneath the deck. And I was leaning into it backwards, and I slipped on the grass, and I landed on the trailer edge. Oh, right in the center of my thoracic. And back then, I was a gym rat, so my arms and legs shut off, got my legs back, got up, got my arms back. That felt pretty good. I went to the gym the next day and worked out. Well,
restarting, it looks like.
Oh,
I did that last week too. But we should close session right now.
Okay, this is just the panel restarting.
Yeah.
It's gonna come back in the next 2 minutes.
Okay, cool.
See, it's still there. Give it, come get me if it's not back in 5 minutes, all right?
My screen. Because it's technically like streaming the Zoom. Yeah. And also have like. He wants everything in gold. Okay. Yeah.
It has to be below grade. So you'd have to be like a basement type, like a bunker. But I've
Yeah,
never-
like underground.
Yeah.
That's
I've
so
never,
funny.
I don't think I've ever seen that below grade.
I wonder like if it was like a case and that's why it's in there. Or if like, no, they got a lot of people who believe in the end times. Do they live here? Like most of the, yeah.
Unless there's a, I don't know. I don't know what.
New York Times games, the daily games? No? That's, I was just asking if you guys played the New York Times games, like online.
does, I don't.
They were on strike for a while, the New York Tech Guild, but they just went off strike today because they're negotiating their contracts, like all the tech workers.
So you'll be able to play again?
Yeah, I just played the Wordle again today. I was so happy.
My wife loves that.
I loved it. Strands is my favorite.
She forces me to do it because she says it's good for my brain, but I watch movies, videos.
I tried to tell my dad about it like 2 years ago when it like first blew up, and he just wouldn't listen to me. And now, every morning I wake up, I get bullied by him. He's like, "You know Wordle yet?" Well, I just use that one and have. You take the train. So you're in the car.
Because I don't think Kim's done what I asked her to do.
That's what the email was about, okay.
What'd you ask me to do?
That personal errand that I asked you. I know.
It's on my list. I have it on my
I'm
sticky
sure it
notes.
is, but you know.
Gotta do it. I'll do it tomorrow.
All right, are you taking over so that we can?
No, I mean, I would, but I mean, I'm happy to. Everybody keeps walking out of the room. There goes Bob.
Finger on my butterfinger.
What'd you say? Yeah, Austin, you need to re-up the candy game. Where'd he go? Oh, Davey, are you the candy man? Yeah, but I don't like any of this stuff that's in
You
here.
can refill.
I don't like Butterfinger.
Well, you can send
I
them on
prefer
down here, 'cause
Snickers,
John and I'll
Kit
eat,
Kat,
John and I'll eat the Butterfinger. I'll put that on the list.
maybe a, trying to think of a good comeback, but because I am, I don't know. Because I can be.
I just clicked into that because I couldn't get.
It doesn't sound right to me, you know, and are we ahead of the current ring?
What was the way? What happened?
That may not be an issue yet.
What? What
And
happened?
in the end, if we want to make a decision,
Okay.
Attorneys like to talk.
All right, you ready?
does that affect those?
Austin,
Did
are
I
you
say
ready?
that out loud?
Austin, are you ready?
I know.
Austin, are you ready?
All right.
I'm going to make a motion to excuse Jamie Lyon at 8:42.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next up, coming back into our session here, we have reports and updates. Manager's report.
Sorry, I'm going to have to table the Stacy Howie Road update. I thought I'd have an update by now, but I don't have it, so I'll table it to the next meeting. Excuse me. Marvin Creek Connector update. So I wanted to mention to you all that we had a quick meeting with our engineers. Is that not working?
Interference here.
We had a meeting with our engineering firm this afternoon to go over a couple of different options. If y'all recall, the contract that we entered with AMT, we were going to get 3 conceptual drawings, designs. We were going to have some input with the HOA on those designs once we got some feedback. But the only option that they are currently projecting a no-rise is this drop inlet that we are referencing from the last meeting. It's actually, they're calling it a circular or arch culvert system, which is kind of some of the images that Hunter is going to pull up. There's different variations of these arch culverts, circular culverts, however you want to call them. These are obviously larger scale. This one that he's pulling up is a larger scale, but that's kind of conceptually what it looks like. I'd have that culvert put into the middle of the, there you go. That's a good example that looks similar to what they had mentioned to us that would work. They are still working on the projected cost for this. At the beginning of this phase, we didn't even envision this being one of the options. We had to ask them for the bridge or an arch bridge, and this is what they came back to show: no rise without a Lomar-Clomar. So the question that I have for you all, if you want to move forward with this project, if you want to do the culvert option that you're seeing here, or if you want to go through the Lomar-Clomar process of the bridge design, which would be an arch bridge or a flat bridge, we'd still have to go through that Lomar-Clomar process. That's about a 9-month process. The circular arch culvert that you're looking at here, some option like this, is not going to produce a rise according to their hydraulic modeling, so this process would be a lot faster. They're projecting rough costs, and this is very rough estimates, around $30,000 to $40,000 for this. They did advise us today that they felt like this option would be a much cheaper option than going through the Lomar-Clomar. The permitting alone for that Lomar-Clomar is $20,000 to $30,000-ish. There's a couple of different design features that you all could have input, the HOA could have input, and that's the railing that you see here. This is obviously, again, not something that we would likely do in this area, but just to show you some options, they do have railings that you could go through. You see the architectural designs on the front end. That's a decorative component. They showed us an example of some stone that was on one of them. So there's different features that you all could have input for the aesthetics. So we first and foremost need to know if you want to go through that Lomar-Clomar, or if this is the option that you want to move forward with to get some conceptual designs.
Well, if it's going to cost as much as for the study as it would for the construction, then why would we even go that route? And
If it's-
faster, and I think this is
You mean the permitting?
yeah, I mean, if we got to go through that, you know, and pay for that study, it's going to cost almost as much as putting in.
Well, we've already paid
this.
for the study. It's just the Lomar-Clomar process, the
That's what I
permitting,
mean,
yeah.
that process.
9 months
That's-
sounds
that's-
expensive, though.
If it's going to cost $20,000 for that, and it's going to cost $30,000 for a complete thing, then why would we even entertain that?
Yeah, so there's still going to be permitting process with this. We still have to go through permits. It's not going to be nearly the cost of a Lomar-Clomar, but there would still be an additional cost associated with the mobilization of the equipment that would be needed to haul this in, the trail construction itself, because that doesn't include the trail construction.
I mean, I'm just isolating it to the creek crossing.
Okay.
If it's going to cost us as much to get the Lomar-Comar as it is to install this, why would we even go down that route? I mean, that just seems ridiculous.
Yeah, and I've seen enough examples where they can be made aesthetically pleasing, you know, for what doesn't look like a whole lot of extra money. The only question I'd have is, depending on the height of what the box is going to need to be, that's probably going to have some determination on the railing,
Right.
the height of the railing that you're going to need. Because, you know, there, it looks like it's more for a car, not necessarily pedestrians.
Pedestrian
you know.
height, a 36-inch tall rail.
Hunter had some, I don't know if you have any more examples, but he had some examples of some pedestrian. We were just trying to show you some.
Yeah, something, yeah.
In short, yeah, it would be a box culvert that sits in the creek bed. Basically, before material and stuff is, like, pre-installed, there's a little, let me see if I can find it, sorry. How do I say this? But like, kind of like this, where it has the initial kind of like side on the bottom, and either the trail material or asphalt would basically, so it would be to grade of the top of bank. And then we would do decorative railing for ADA compliance and so on the sides for safety, pedestrian safety purposes.
We could talk about the surface that's on top of it, whether it be, you know, natural surface, gravel, asphalt, concrete, however, you know, y'all want to talk about that in the design phase. But the first thing that the engineers need to know, if y'all are okay with this concept, they're just going to wipe out the bridge concept altogether, and then they're going to come back and give us some drawings of this actual culvert into the area, and then we can talk about the aesthetic functions at that point in time.
Do we have even estimates of what a bridge or arched bridge are
No.
going to be? I mean, because if we know these are, you know, $10,000 to $20,000, you know, you put $20,000 in the Lomar, Hymar, and then you're adding the bridge, arched prefab, whatever on top of that. I'd have to imagine those are going to cost considerably more than this as well, but
So
do
I
we
asked
have a
him-
guess even?
I did ask them today to help you guys make the determination conceptually if you want this or the bridge. He did assure that he felt like this was the cheaper option of the two. And he did estimate to this component alone to be around 30 to 40, not 10. And then the additional cost would be whatever surface we need to add on, which would be asphalt, concrete, railing. He did say that a lot of those will have, they can be prefab like that where they already have it. So the $30,000 to $40,000 rough estimate, again, it's rough estimate, could include some of those components, but he wouldn't know that for sure until he went to the drawing board with the actual concept drawings based on what was needed there. But again, you would have additional costs for the permitting, mobilization, for the equipment that's needed to haul the devices in.
Yeah, I would say that we go ahead and we move forward, with them kind of coming back with the full cost and engineering for this type of design. If for whatever reason it gets out of hand and we do have to look another direction because we think the other way might be less expensive or close enough. But other than that, I think really, moving forward just with this, I'm comfortable with that. I don't know what everybody else is.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Did I miss anything from our call today? I think that was pretty much summarized it.
No, just with them basically being prefab, like I said, that some of the costs that they even talked about with mobilization and getting the equipment into the area and how it is a small size 2x12, I believe, or 2x10, and how they could even be broken up if need be to basically utilize where we don't have to use any type of heavy equipment to get into the area where it could be just by a skid steer to bring multiple pieces in.
So we would need to do a change order with the engineer to go through that permitting process, hold our hand through that. So I'll ask him for that, and then to get some drawings back so you all can see it, talk about conceptual design and any of the elements that you want to talk about.
I got one
And then
question.
and then we're still waiting on the wetlands as well.
It's on. We have a lot of trash, limbs and stuff that comes down there. Will they flow on through, or will we have to periodically clean that out, opening?
Yeah, that's a great question. So our crews are going out very periodically, monthly at the least, but
Okay, all right.
they do actually go through.
Okay, then that,
Yeah. So this would be an area that we would definitely look at on a regular basis, particularly, we would look at this area particularly post-storm events when,
Okay.
larger limbs would come through, so. And they do have a protocol that they have established in place today for that.
excellent.
Unless y'all have any further questions, I think I know my direction. Unless there's any objections, then
Thank you, Christina. Next up, planners report.
Just one brief item regarding the Marvin Heritage District Master Plan. I've completed kind of a high-level scope, taking the information from the CP&I study, DFI, basically the scope for the project that I would outline in the RFQ would be regarding kind of additional constraints or kind of looking what additional improvements would be needed for transportation purposes, road improvements, pedestrian improvements. Some of that's already kind of covered through the Marvin Loop, as well as looking at water and sewer needs based off of how the zoning ordinance is set up and potential development and stormwater, as well as in kind of getting into some of the architectural and building design elements. Is council all on board with kind of those being the main focus points of that plan? And if so, I will begin finalizing that scope in the RFQ and either can bring it to you guys for the December meeting or go ahead and advertise it in December prior. Just want to get.
Just bring it to us, let us read over it.
Okay,
And then you,
so then I'll put that on your December meeting, and if you guys are good with it, then we'll advertise and go through that process. Other than that, that's all I really have, unless you guys have any specific questions on anything. All right, thank you.
can you turn your mic on?
Next up, roads report.
People can't hear you.
I don't think we have anything. We're still working with DOT on a couple of things, but we don't have anything.
Deputies report. Ed, got anything for us? I'm just gonna take over, Joe's not paying attention. Well, anybody got any questions? Everybody look it over? Looked like crime was down, that's good. No burglaries, no larcenies?
We had another month of no car meetings.
Well, that's good. That's really good.
People paying attention.
Good.
All right,
Fantastic.
thank you. Next up, planning board.
Report, yeah. There were three things that we covered. First off, we went over the 2025 schedule, which was approved. Then we also went over what was delayed till December 10th. We went over the development agreement for CZ 2024-1, but what they were presented, what the planning board saw, they approved. So that motion passed unanimously. Last thing, that was a discussion regarding, there's a citizen that wants to put a detached garage, and there was discussion of exactly the ordinances that we have now as being flush with the front of the home, as opposed to being out in front of the home or slightly, so that was something that they just discussed. That was it.
All right, any questions? Next up, PR&G board report. Is that you, John?
Yeah, hold on, I had some notes here. Couple of things that we spoke about. We did go over, set our new schedule for the year. Happy that we do have everybody on the full board now, so having a full slate of folks is definitely very helpful. We talked about, without getting into it much, we had a presentation by the Union County Forester. He did a full presentation that I think, Austin, is available.
It's part of the video that's available.
Part of the video, so if anybody's interested, a lot of good information there, about the native, all the different types of trees, how we're trying to work with things, and, some real good information there. We did do a discussion about the Parks and Greenways Master Plan, and over the next couple of months, I think we decided, really it's something that we want to take our time with, and that we're actually kind of delaying the survey to get some feedback on specific questions that the PRG might want to have included in that, and that was pretty much it.
Okay, thank you. Next up, event planning report, Tyler.
So December 7th, we'll do the tree lighting at Marvin Eford Park. It'll be from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Santa Claus will be there. Cookies, hot chocolate, coffee. That'll be a great event. You'll hear music from the choir, chorus from Marvin Ridge High School. So come check that out on December 7th. That'll be a lot of fun. Friendship Tree. We were working diligently with Union County, waiting to get the list of names. If you are listening to this in the public, thanks if you've reached out, appreciate it. We will keep you guys posted on when we do get these names and these tags up and available. Keep checking our social medias and the newsletters. After that, in January, we'll be doing another stargazing event. Ideally, the date was going to be January 24th. We may shift that date around, but you guys will keep everyone posted. That's all I got.
Can I ask you something? I forgot, but that's okay. No, we're good, thank you. All right, next up, coffee with council debrief.
Well, Jamie and I had coffee with council, and we sadly didn't have anybody come in and see us.
We had the whole second grade class come
Well,
in.
that was you.
They were here. Okay, so nothing to report then.
Nothing to report there.
WUMA, didn't you give that report last time?
So WUMA, we only had one thing on our agenda, and that was the discussion of our county manager, Brian Matthews, coming in to see us at our next meeting, which will be on the 21st from 6:30 to 8 in Stallings. And we invited him to come and give us basically a state of the county report and answer any questions that we have. So each of our municipalities have asked our councils to come up with any questions that they might have, so.
I did reach out to both Weddington and Wesley Chapel and let them know about what the county recently did, which we're going to talk about shortly, but also the resolution. But Monroe has already given, and he plans, a council member plans to be at that meeting as well. In fact, he's interested in possibly joining WUMA, which I don't have a problem with, so.
Hey, as long, if we can, the more the merrier, you
Yeah.
know, we all get together, we can share information, it's always a good
Okay.
thing.
All right.
So that
Anything
was it.
else?
That's
Any
pretty much
questions? Next up, consent agenda. Need a motion to approve consent agenda as, was it amended?
Amended.
Amended.
So moved.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Public hearings are done, and we're moving on to unfinished business. None of that. New business, discussion of council budget priority forms email survey.
Really fast, you guys will be getting your budget priority forms this week that you do every year. I'm excited to say they are digital this year. You will do a survey on your phone, tablet, computer, and it will automatically send me the data, create the graphs and everything. So no one has a chance at doing the forms wrong this year, or me having to come back to you, or us, or there being any delay in getting the results to you all. So you guys will fill those out, get those back to me, and we'll have all that data for the retreat.
And those are coming to us via email?
Via email, so you
Okay,
have to
so,
check your
so you're
email.
gonna need to text Joe and Jamie and tell them to check their emails?
You know what?
Yes.
I've always been upfront about that, so I appreciate it. Heads up.
But those should be to you by Thursday. That is my goal.
Thank you,
I just need to verify with staff on details just one more time.
thank you.
All right, next up, we have consider adoption of the resolution opposing the proposed reform to municipal
Oh my God, marbles?
voluntary annexation supported by, here we go, supported by the NCACC as presented.
So NCACC is the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners. Union County has adopted a resolution for that organization to pursue a legislative goal to ask the General Assembly to reform the municipal voluntary annexation process. If this proposal were to go through, and there's not that many details on this yet, it would require greater county input for when we want to voluntarily annex a property. The county would get a say. We would have to have a more robust public outreach process that would include county residents. Needless to say, this would diminish municipal, not only property rights, but the role of municipal government and in local zoning decisions. So if you guys so choose, we do have a resolution in here to oppose this.
And then did we kind of mirror off of what Monroe did, or how did we come up with
Monroe
this?
didn't pass a formal resolution. They just wrote a letter of concern to the county. We did take their letter, we looked at it, and we adapted this resolution from that letter, but also just from some general principles that we've used in past resolutions of opposition.
I just don't understand the thought
Agreed.
process of why this is nothing more than a control thing, you know, and a power play to.
Municipal annexations don't affect the county that much. They still pay county taxes.
The only thing I could think of is this, we get certain taxes like we used to get from like, or what was it, AT&T or your services at some point. I don't even know if, like, is that?
Service provision would be a point of confusion, but to say that it requires a complete overhaul of annexation law is a bit of a reach.
Does anybody have any opposition to sending this resolution in opposition?
Is our resolution just on our own, or is it in unison with other municipalities?
I am not
Have we reached
aware
out?
of, I'm not aware of any other resolutions at this moment. This is very early in this process because right now this is only being considered as a legislative goal by NCACC. This would be akin to the North Carolina League of Municipalities having a goal to petition the legislature to do something. So right now we're only opposing NCACC's legislative goal. This is not legislation as of yet.
I guess we're probably one of the few municipalities that are actually being somewhat successful in getting voluntary people to come into our community, because there's not many people out there volunteering to pay a tax, I would imagine.
Other municipalities do see much larger volumes of voluntary annexations, but you usually see that at the developer level. When a piece of property is being developed into a subdivision, the developer would then annex to have municipal services brought before people buy their
They're
homes.
doing that as a whole. That's, I mean, I'm saying existing homes sitting in there. Are they running to the municipalities? and
I don't
saying,
really
"Hey,"
know
I
how
just
other
don't
cities are
understand
faring.
this process.
Here it really is municipal services. So if you don't provide water and sewer, then there's no reason.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, garbage and stuff like that we can control, but water and sewer.
Why
we
does
can't.
county have to be involved, I guess,
They
is
don't.
my question.
All right, so I'm gonna make a motion
Okay.
to adopt the resolution opposing the performed reform to municipal voluntary annexation supported by NCACC as presented.
Further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Open topics. Anyone?
Hearing none, moving on.
All right, moving on. Review of action items.
Okay, very few today. We're going to do a social post for the Marvin Loop questionnaires. We've already got that in the newsletter for Friday, so we're already one step ahead there. Christina has her marching orders on the box culvert, so we'll move forward with that and bring you all more information. Hunter's going to bring back his Marvin Heritage District Master Plan scope at the December meeting. And I will shop around this resolution of opposition now that you all have adopted it. And you will also be getting your council priority forms on Thursday. I think that's it. Oh, and we do have that contract that was on the consent agenda with Acro that we're going to get executed. That should be all.
All right, Mayor Pro Kim list, what do we got?
I'm good.
You're good?
Yep.
You sure?
Yep.
All right, moving on, council comments. Wayne, what do you got?
Thank you, staff, police department, sheriff department, whatever, and my fellow.
Thank you.
Being that we just passed Veterans Day, really want to recognize folks on council that have fought and for our country and all of our residents as well. You know, it's something that not all of us do, but the ones that do, we owe an eternal gratefulness for.
I'm good, thank you.
Andy? Nothing?
No comment.
Bob? Kim?
Nope.
Nothing? Oh, man, leave it up to me. Just a couple comments. I am so happy the elections are over. I'd like to make a proposal that we enforce something, that make it a law that whoever is the candidate on the losing side picks up whatever they spend on advertising in the mail. The losing side has to take that same amount and put it to some good cause in the country, and we'd see a lot less mail. So we'll have a lot less recycling going by, I guess. I'm just happy it's all over with and all the craziness, and I'm glad we got a decision that night. Special thanks to both second grade that came to visit us on site. We rarely get that happen. I think the kids were very excited. Thanks, Kim, for coming to that, and also Jamie. And then today, I invited Austin to come and meet the third graders, and Austin talked a little bit about his role. We talked to the kids about that. They had some interesting questions, but as always, we appreciate the local schools, happy to do that for them. And with that, I will need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I second we go home.
Look at that, 9:08. See, also, we didn't even get anywhere close to 10 o'clock.
Perfect audit.
What?
Can I amend my comment? We are.
I thanked you.
So we just don't do the statue we were going to surprise her with. So we just don't do the statue we were going to surprise her with for her perfect audit.
Dismiss.